Okay, I'd like to call to order the Summers Board of Selectmen regular meeting. Today is Thursday, January 25th, 6 p.m. We're at Town Hall Auditorium. We'd like to start the meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have with us tonight Selectman Bill Meyer on my right, Selectman Bob Schmidt on my left, Director of Ops Kim LaFleur on my left, CFO Brian Wissinger, Assistant Treasurer Mike Marinaccio. I was going to mention Dave Marty, but he's not here yet, so we won't make that a problem. Register of Voters Dave McCaffrey, Registrar of Voters, Fire Chief John Roach, Karen Neal, Town Assessor, and Alyssa Hanby, Town Tax Officer. We've got everybody. We don't have any public here this evening, even though they're invited. Presentations, public comment, we have none. So presentation by First Selectman. I really don't have much new to say other than to get some additional information about our budget, and it looks pretty grim. So everyone needs to understand that we're working in a very tough atmosphere, and the orders that we've been given by the Board of Finance might not be reachable. So that's.
What were their orders, if you could?
Their orders were to have no more than an increase of 0.75 mils. And that's going to be, and I believe, personally I believe it's somewhat arbitrary, and that they really haven't seen the requests or the needs of the various departments of town and the school. So it's a little tough to put that out to begin with before you've seen anything. But
yeah.
That's what we're dealing with.
Okay.
Well, it just requires choices, you know, it's going to require some choices, so.
Yeah, no, for everybody.
For everybody.
Exactly,
Yeah.
You're right. Consent agenda, I believe we don't have anything there. Opportunities to add urgent items, I don't think we have any of those either.
No, I don't.
Agenda.
No.
Updates from boards and commissions, we have none there. We have no pending business that we haven't dealt with. Under new business, the first item up is Fire Chief John Roach.
You skipped over.
Going to make a couple
Yeah, do payments,
presentations,
right?
a couple requests.
Skipped over.
Oh, sorry about that, yeah.
I did payments.
Transfers and appropriations,
Redheaded stepchild.
we have none, right?
No transfer.
Sorry, I wasn't meaning to shed any light on you guys, but you are sitting there.
Must be a good show on at 6:30.
CFO's financial report.
I don't have anything new from
Okay.
last week
Any
either.
updates, presentations of scheduled payments. Let's see here. So we need a motion for the total.
I have to make a motion to authorize the payment of $242,000.37.
I'll second that.
Any discussion about the motion? I've gone over in detail the list, I've asked questions, had them answered.
I'm all set.
Good,
I'm fine.
good. Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion passes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Right. Chief Roach.
Sure, so the first thing coming before you is just a discussion for what the town is interested in possibly doing or not doing in regards to possible remediation of our fire trucks. So 2 of our fire trucks To bring everyone up to speed, Squad 146 and Squad 246, which were purchased in 2013, came with 30-gallon integrated foam tanks, Universal Gold ARA FFF foam. That was kind of state-of-the-art. That's what the industry was using at the time. Fancy systems that work great. Unfortunately, the same foam system is what was actually in the news again today with State Attorney General suing the foam manufacturers because they are full of PFAS chemicals, which are known as forever chemicals, which don't break down and pollute the environment.
So what's the Attorney General's lawsuit? I'm just curious,
It was
what's
on
he
the news
seeking?
today. He is suing 18 of the manufacturers of the foam, or of PFAS in general,
For what?
damages for the state of Connecticut. So, for cleanup, remediation, water, you name it, the state's going after the manufacturers.
Are there other states involved?
I don't know at this
Probably,
time.
yeah.
But I just happened to catch it on the way out.
Yeah,
Coming here
Yeah,
there.
I saw it, yeah.
Good.
It was one of the
Okay,
news.
go
So,
ahead.
it's in the news quite a bit. So 2 of our trucks had PFAS foam chemicals in it. Part of the problem they're finding is that the PFAS is so durable that it leaches into the tanks and the equipment. That's kind of what made it a very great firefighting foam, is it didn't break down in heat and it didn't break down in water, and it held up very well under extreme conditions, which is why they use it in fires. The downside is it doesn't break down in heat or water, so when you spill it in the environment, it never breaks down.
Yeah.
So DEEP did announce that they've got a program where they reimburse communities eligible funds for the cost of draining the foam off their trucks and cleaning the tanks. So I was asked by the first selectman to look into what that program entailed. Basically what the state says is if you go out and pay to have your vehicle cleaned, you can put in for reimbursement. It is a first come, first serve type of grant program. The state put about $1.5 million aside for this program. Doing some back of the napkin numbers, to do all of the trucks in the state of Connecticut to get cleaned is probably about a $6 or $7 million bill. So there's definitely not enough money there to do all of the trucks in the state of Connecticut. So it's kind of, if you get on the bandwagon early, there's some money. If you wait, there may or may not. The state says, the typical state, they're going to put some money there, see what gets spent, and if they need to replenish the pot in another year or two, they might. But I can't, you don't want to hold your breath. Again, I can't make any commitments on what the state.
When was the notice put out to everyone that the fund is available?
About 3 weeks ago. So
Okay.
it's fairly new. It just came out.
Well, I'm glad you're on top of it.
So we've been following that. The downside is, I do want to point out, is that even after the truck is cleaned and remediated, it still has trace amounts of PFAS in it. So it still can never be used in the way it was designed or operated. So that tank, you can drain it, you can scrub it, you can clean it, but you still never can use that tank again. So you can clean the truck, but it's still not clean enough for it to not be technically considered contaminated. So basically, I just wanted to come before the Board of Selectmen and just give 2 options out before the Board of Selectmen. Basically, option 1 is you can do what the kind of the state's recommended practice is you go ahead and clean the truck. You'd have to pay up front. The town would have to figure out where they're going to allocate that funding from. It's about $10,000 to $15,000 per vehicle.
We have 2 vehicles?
We have 2 trucks. You'd have to take the truck out of service for a few weeks while that process is done. They actually have to take the tanks and the components apart. It has to be done at a licensed facility. And then when we get the truck back, this foam system's still tagged and marked out of service on the truck. It's technically cleaner than it was when it went. Basically, what it may do for the town is it may limit your liability. If there's ever an issue down the road, it would stop somebody from accidentally pulling the handle and accidentally turning on the foam system and running water through it. So that would kind of minimize some of the risk there. Might make it easier to sell the truck down the road if you have a certificate saying that somebody cleaned it. But the other downside is there's no guarantee that the state will actually have money when we get around to. We have to get in line with these vendors, figure out, get it cleaned out, and then we'd have to put in for the reimbursement program. The state said they will not put authorized funding up front. You have to get the work done first to put in for, they want the receipts before they, that's the way they're doing the program. So you'd have to proceed either fairly quickly or wait till they get more funding. Or option 2 is we just leave the trucks as is. We physically pull the foam systems off, pull the fuse out of the foam system, it's computerized. and we manually turn the quarter turn valves on the bottom of the tank so they physically can't flow any material. So just basically, it's static and it's sitting there, it's not hurting anything, it's not doing anything. There's no upfront cost, there's no out of service time, doesn't affect the fact that you can't use the foam because we can't do that anyways, so, from an operational perspective, either option doesn't kind of affect us either way. Downside is, there is a chance that somebody could hit something, pull something, break something, the lines could freeze and it could crack and something could drip out. Or also it might make it harder for that truck to sell the truck later on. The other problem is that the state may, in a few years from now, mandate that the trucks are cleaned, but at that point in time, the pot of money for cleanup may have come and gone. So, I just wanted to have a discussion with the Board of Selectmen and take direction from what the board was interested in doing or not doing.
What would you recommend, Chief? I mean, you're the closest to it. You see it, you know what it is.
It's two, one half dozen the other. What's the town planning on doing for the life of the trucks? 10, 15, 20, I mean, right now the trucks are already 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think the town's gonna be willing to replace the trucks in 2 or 3 years, and maybe it's not worth it, you just suck it up and sell the truck out of state where it's legal still? If you're planning on keeping the truck for another 15, 20 years, then maybe you take the investment now just to get it out of the system and check that box off so you're not dealing with it in 20 years from now.
Well, what do you see the life of the truck to be as far as use goes on your side?
They're on paper, they're supposed to be between 17 and 25 years, so one of them could be in theory getting close, but at the same time, I know budget-wise, we've been looking to what can we do to push the trucks out a little bit longer, because the cost of the trucks, the brand-new trucks, is getting obscene.
Those trucks, I mean, I'd be shocked if you get more than 20 years out of those. I mean, those are not great trucks.
So how much does the truck cost?
Over $1 million.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, it's not an environmental risk as long as you leave it as is.
It's like having asbestos siding on your house.
Yeah.
As long as you don't damage it, play with it, muck with it, it's fine, but as soon as you want to do anything with the house, you need either take it off or cover it or do something. So that's the discussion I just kind of wanted to come before the
Well,
board.
how do you see the risks of possible leakage or release of this material?
It's
just,
minuscule, because they were 30-gallon tanks. We did drain the foam physically out of the tank, the most as we could get, so it's the residual sludge that's in it. But there are lines and piping and conduit, I guess, throughout the pumping system. So if something freezes, something cracks, something bangs it with a wrench, it's minimal, but there is a little bit of a risk of dripping it, spilling it on the floor or on the ground or doing something like that. As I said, the trucks we've done as much as we could safely ahead of time. So, I mean, we drained the tanks, we turned the quarter turn valves, we pulled the fuses out of the computer system. So, turning it back on for us, our system is very hard. There are some departments where it's just to pull a lever, and for them, they've got a bigger risk. But just something to be aware of. It's still in the trucks, so.
I mean, I'd see us replacing one of those trucks in the next 8 years. I mean, I don't think we should have bought two together to begin with. That's a bad practice.
Yep.
I mean,
I agree with you 100% there.
yeah, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, I know they kind of had to, but I mean, it creates a bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it
All
seems
right.
like we should clean them at a minimum and see if we can get the state, to do that. I would say that would, I know there's still gonna be residue in there, but I don't think it'd be as potent, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the problem they're finding is that the state now, DEP, is coming back and saying they want to measure this in parts per trillion.
Yeah, right.
So,
That's absurd.
Yeah.
the threshold that they've set is basically 0.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, but to me, if we got them cleaned, then we could,
We get from parts per thousand down to parts per trillion, yeah.
right, and then that way we could still use them if we had to, right?
You wouldn't be able to, the state clearly stated you
Oh,
can't use that
you
foam
still can't, they
system.
won't let you use them even if
You will
you
not
get
be
them
able to use
cleaned?
that foam system, so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, is it feasible to just pull the tank physically out, or is it
It's the integrated foam cell, so it's
Oh, it
part
is.
of, you'd have to
So
replace
you know,
the
like
entire-
body, the whole thing, yeah, it's not even, okay.
Okay.
It's not cost effective to do that. There are towns that are doing that, but it's just not for us. You got a truck that's 5 years old, it makes sense. When they're already 12, it doesn't make as much sense.
Well, what about the finance? What's the potential for covering this $20,000 to $30,000 cost?
I mean, I would, it doesn't really qualify, in my opinion, for a capital expense. It's not extending the useful life of the vehicle by any means. It's just,
Well, in a way it is, I mean.
we're still gonna use it for the same 8 years. You know, it's not like if we change this system, we can get 20 years out of the truck now. Like, the truck's gonna need to be replaced when it needs to be replaced regardless.
Still an operational expense.
It is. I'd like to think that if the Attorney General is suing the manufacturers, that whatever monies come out of that, they would continue to put into this remediation fund that the state is going to assist with.
That could take a few years.
It could take a few years.
Spent
Yeah.
$25,000-$30,000.
Well, that's the same thing that happened with the drug thing, when they sued the pharmaceutical companies, you know, that's still going on.
And I'd like to see a more exact estimate from a vendor. I mean, average 10 to 15, if a vendor will, you know, if we promise him 2 and he'll do it for 17.5 or 20 grand maybe, but if we're talking 30 grand, like, what is the likelihood of getting the reimbursement? It is early. There's a lot of questions, and like you said, I mean, it's a 12-year-old vehicle. One of them we know we're probably gonna replace in 8 years, and then the other one in 10 years, so how much money do we want to dump into these? One of them, we already dumped 25 grand into retrofitting it to make it a light tower and everything. And how much do we want to continue to dump into these 2 pieces of equipment?
Well, I'd only do it if the state funds it, you know, that's.
Yeah, but you don't know
But
that.
you can't guarantee the state's gonna fund it.
Yeah, I know, but then, do we have to clean it, whether the state funds it or not?
We don't have to clean it.
Okay, that's why I was asking.
No, there's no mandate, at this point in time, there is no mandate to clean.
There's no mandate, yeah.
That's why I put the risk is that doesn't mean that the Attorney General or DEEP can't change their mind
Correct. that's
3
what-
years from now.
Right. Well, to me, I'd take advantage of it.
I mean, at that point, I would say in 3 years from now, we cross that bridge when we get there, you know.
You don't think it's worth getting them clean?
I don't think it's worth the outlay of $30,000 to hope we get
Maybe we can wait
reimbursed from
and
the
see
state.
what
I'm
happens
just
to the
saying, if
Attorney
we applied
General's,
for state funding, not us paying it.
Well, it's a reimbursement program, so you have to spend the money
I
first
understand
to
that. I
apply.
understand
And then if they don't, you know, if everybody else is standing there with their hands out and we're number 100 on the list and the first 99 get funded, we're out 30 grand.
A lot of the
I
formulas are
understand that.
needs-based now, too.
Right, it's
Like,
gonna be
our
needs-based, yep.
English and everything, we're not favorable.
Yeah.
There really doesn't seem to be any incentive to be proactive here. Yeah, I mean, if the rule comes down, then
Yeah.
yeah, obviously you would respond to it, but
Well, either way, you're gonna end up spending the money, aren't you?
good money out of
Is there any other information on the state grant program? It is a full 100% reimbursement, or is
100%
it?
reimbursement program, as I said, I talked with them, they said the money will probably last till about July. That's about as much detail as they can give me.
Well, how long?
Because I asked, can I put it in next year's budget for next year, and he's like, if you put it in August or September, the money's probably gonna be gone on that first batch. And he said, to be honest, the state budget cycle, it's not gonna be till their fiscal year after that, so not July of this year, but July of 2025, when they put more money into that fund.
Yep.
So, it's one of those, either you do it now,
Or you wait.
or you wait. But you don't wanna be doing it July 1st or August of next year.
Okay.
Like I told you, I might be in the minority, but my vote is go for it now.
And based on the cost, you'd need a special appropriation in a town meeting.
Do we, really, for that much, yeah?
Yeah,
Over
absolutely. It's over
$20,000.
$20,000.
How much money we're gonna have to have a town meeting?
You have to have a town meeting by charter.
Unless
Okay.
you decide that you wanna do one truck now, try and get reimbursed, and then you go for a second truck afterwards. But then you're doubling the amount of administrative and paperwork and grant.
Yeah.
Well, you could play a game and do one in 2 weeks and then do another one in 2 weeks. Could you do that?
If you wanna have an audit finding.
Financially, no.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to know. I mean,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
You still need $30,000 and it's
I
still a
understand
town
that, but the
meeting.
point is, then you have to go to a town meeting then, if you
Yes.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah, either one you have, no matter
Right,
what.
but my thought was, you could maybe clean one, if you got the money, then you wouldn't need to go, it wouldn't be a second, who knows?
Oh, yeah.
Wait until you get reimbursed after the first one, and then go to the
Yeah.
second one after you've gotten the reimbursement. As I said, I'm just throwing options out on the table for the board to,
Realistically, as slow as the state is to reimburse,
it might be years.
So then you're halfway in
you're still
compliance.
you're gonna be in the next state budget
Or
cycle.
then you open
That doesn't work very well.
liability, if the other one leaks, they're gonna say, why
Yeah,
didn't you do
So you
both?
actually
Why didn't
know
you do
what's
both?
wrong, you
Yeah.
fixed one, but you let the other one
Yep.
drive around, so I mean,
So you're halfway there.
What do you think, Tim? I mean, you have to
Makes no
be
sense.
But you,
I-
but you
I
have
think,
to, you have to do it though, right?
You don't have to do
No, you
anything.
don't have to do it.
You can just let them
No.
sit there then?
Yeah.
It's like asbestos siding on your house, you don't have to do.
I think we should assume the risk and not do it.
and not do it. That's kind of where I'm leaning as well.
Yeah.
I agree. I just, and, you know, if the Attorney General is successful and there's money for everybody, anyway.
And I would take the precautions in trying to shut down the system so that it
We've done
can't be, you know,
Yeah.
but beyond that, I mean,
Okay. So we'll just take no action then.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to vote on it, just take no action, and then
That's
just by
fine. I just-
default, nothing happens.
I thought at least it would be
Okay.
appropriate for the Board of Selectmen.
No,
to have
thank you, this
Very
is,
helpful to bring
yeah, thank
bring
you.
it up.
Yeah, no, this was good.
The second, discussion item for tonight is the proposal for what do we wanna do with, Marine 146. So the Somers Fire Department does have a small 14-foot inflatable boat with outboard motor and a trailer. Currently, we've got this wedge between, like in the space between two trucks in the bays. But with this, mandated exhaust system is supposed to be get installed the week of February 17th. That means you can't have things sitting between the trucks because the hoses are gonna get hung up on that. There's just not enough room. So it needs to find a new home. Again, I said it was purchased in 2010 by the association, donated to the town, has not gone to, I mean, it's gone to calls in town, but it's not actually gotten in the water for anything in town in the entire time. We are a member of the Talon County Mutual Aid Dive Team, so there's some talk, I'm just trying to figure out the best solution for this is how can we free up space, but at the same time, still maybe have it available to us if we needed it. So the thought was maybe donate it to the dive team. And then they said they'd probably be able to work with some of the neighboring departments and get us a spot. There is a neighboring department that has recently had a bay open up, so they said they may be willing to house it.
And where would be located if it was a Talon County dive team?
Well, again, it's a member of all, we're a member of the Talon County
Yeah,
Mutual Aid Fire
where would it
Service.
be though? Where would it?
Right now, it might go to West Stafford, but it could also end up in Willington, it could end up in Ellington, it could end up in I mean, that's the part of the dive team is they, or the county asset, is they move it to where they, once we hand them the keys to the vehicle or whatever, it's theirs.
They don't already have one?
They don't, the county itself does not, mostly it's the individual departments have them. It would be, the county does have a few vehicles that are fleet vehicles, so they've got a command center, they had a dive trailer for a long time, they have some smaller assets, they don't actually have they just don't have a 14-foot Zodiac. So I threw it out there, it would have to go before them as well, but the thought was if we donated it to the Talon County Dive Team, they would take ownership of it for maintenance and equipment, things like that, and then they would try to do their best to house it in one of the closer departments to us. But then if we needed it, if we're doing a drill or something that we knew we were having an event, we can call and say, hey, can we borrow it for that weekend? As a county asset, we can borrow it back. And then if there's a call, we would just call part of, like we normally do, and it would come.
When would you actually need it? I mean, since you haven't used it ever since you bought it.
It says they haven't used it for an emergency. I think they use it for the
Well, you said it
Scandic
also
River,
would give you more space,
rapids.
right, if you got rid of it too.
Yeah,
It's a space issue mainly. I mean, if I had all the space
but
in
it's
the
never
world.
gotten wet.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's like everything, it's a high risk, low incidence type of thing, like,
Right.
I get it.
The moment you
Yeah.
get rid of it, there'll be an incident.
I mean, we don't have a Crystal Lake or something, but I mean, there's always a possibility. And we don't have a lot of recreational swimming, although with IAPO, you have an ice rescue sled still?
We still have the ice rescue sled, that'll fit fine
So
right
you
now,
do?
that'll be in the service
Okay.
truck.
So I mean, that is a step, I mean, that's one thing.
We can get out in the water a little bit, we've got some of the suits and things like that.
Seems to me this sort of goes under the category of house cleaning. You know, you gotta get some space. This is an obvious item that you
We're just talking, again, we're
land
just
if you
talking
need
about-
it.
We looked at what vehicles get used the most, the utilization.
You
That's
could
what
borrow
I was
it.
asking.
I'd get rid of it
That's at
personally.
the bottom of our list for utilization.
We borrow it still.
And there's no, you don't think with IAPO there's gonna be any, I mean, we are seeing more there, but, okay.
I mean, if I had all the space in the world, sure, I'd love to keep it, but I don't.
Well, we don't have a crystal ball. I mean, we may need it next week, we may not need it for 15 years, but,
The only
okay.
good thing about the beach at Iapo is the swimming area is very shallow, quite a ways out. So
Okay,
usually we tell
Yeah.
people stand up and walk.
yeah.
Yeah, the good news about the Mill Pond is it's only 3.5 feet deep at the deepest spot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no pond's
yeah.
4 feet
You
deep, so
stand
it's
up,
the same thing.
quit flailing around.
Yeah, no. Okay, I'm fine with it. I mean, I don't think it's an awful thing. I think it's, to go to the county, I'm fine with it. All right, I'll make a
I think
motion
so.
to, approve the transfer of Marine 146 to the Talon County Mutual Aid Fire Service, Talon County Dive Team as presented.
Second?
All those in, any further discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
The bulk of this is the stuff I emailed over to everybody about the articles on that.
Yeah, I got that, I ran it off.
I know. Okay, town clerk budget.
All right. Actually, this should not be a very controversial budget here.
It's easy for you to say. You never know.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
All right. Pretty much the, one line went up a little bit here, and it's the, data processing, the computer stuff, and that's for the implementation of the property check program from COT Systems, $700 setup, and then it's, $30 a month. Actually, the notes here were $25. The proposal I originally had from them was expired, so I asked them to update it, and it went up $5. But I intend to go back to them when we go.
Since the town's listening to this, or hopefully they are, maybe you could just explain what that system's gonna do and how.
Yeah, the property check program is the program that's offered through our land records company, and basically it's a kind of a safeguard system that the residents of town can subscribe to, so that their deeds on their properties can be monitored, that if any changes happen, anything, they'll get alerted with an email that something's happening, that they can then look into it right away.
So then the cost is the cost to the town, not to the homeowner.
It's a cost of the town, yeah.
That $30 a month is for how long? Not forever. Is that a 1 year, 2 year?
I don't know the timeframe on that,
Could
but
it be
I can...
$100 a month next year?
Yeah. I don't know, but that is a good question, Mike. So I'll see what kind of term they have on it. I did get with them to make sure that the annual cost of what the other maintenance is going to stay constant, and it is, because I wanted to make sure there wasn't other increases involved.
Thank you.
And other than that, this, I made a comment here that if we want to, I think we could not wait till July to do this, because I know in my budget that I'm going to be under $3,000 on the election line this year. What happened was the year before, the state gave the town clerk's office a $3,000 grant to cover additional expenses to handle absentee ballots.
Yeah.
So, with that not
be
being not being sure for this year, I added that into the budget this past year, but with it being just a strictly local election, there was no need to spend any of that. So we have an extra $3,000. I need to keep that in for next year's budget because it's the presidential year, and we definitely will need that money there for that one. So I just wanted to bring that up, the fact that there are some additional funds that are not getting expended this year that were budgeted, in case we want to initiate this thing, sooner rather than till July. And that's nothing has to be decided tonight, but I just wanted to put that on the table.
Is the early voting gonna cause you any additional expense?
No,
I'm asking him.
The other
This Dave.
Dave.
No, I don't anticipate it for me, but it's gonna cost a lot of additional expense for the
Yeah, you
registrar.
sent that article out explaining how much it is, and
Yeah.
the Secretary of State,
Secretary of
said,
State.
she's already explained, she's been on TV explaining that it's an unfunded mandate, and she's not happy with that.
And she's also not happy, she's unhappy for the towns that this has been forced on them without being funded.
Yeah.
But she's also unhappy that she's not being given any money to communicate of how the whole thing works, or any kind of educational program for the residents.
Right, exactly.
I mean, she wants to have a commercial campaign to let people know how it works, or what, how it's gonna happen.
It's kind of dumbfounding considering they had a surplus, and then they would institute something like this and not use any of that surplus to help, her run the program and to actually help the towns do that.
I know that we have a monthly call with her, and she stresses, get a hold of your local legislators, push that they really need to provide some funding for this early voting.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So, Any questions at all on the budget? I don't think it's that big of a
So,
discrepancy here.
0.53% increase, it's not very severe, Dave.
All right. While I have the floor here, I just want to share a few initiatives at the town clerk's office. The one that I'm most excited about is the library grant that, along with some monies that have been building up in the Kittia, that's called the $2 Fund, the Historical Preservation and Archiving Fund, that we're going to do a project to have our land records go back to 1960. Right now, we go back to 1973. So, back to 1960 now, people will be able to search the index and pull up the documents. And this will be great for title search companies, just for residents, that we can go back that far. Because right now, anything prior to 73, people have to come in here, pull the books, make copies of them. And I think that's a big plus for our town.
Right.
And it's actually a 2-year project. It's a big project. And it's gonna be all funded from this year's grant and next year's grant.
That sounds good, yeah.
And then another thing is just to share with everybody is that our town, beginning in 2024, we're gonna offer e-recording, where, instead of all the stuff coming in by mail or FedEx or UPS, there's an opportunity for people to send it electronically. And, it just cuts down on paper. It's faster. We won't have to pay the postage for stuff going back out. I know that's minimal, but it still adds up.
Yeah.
The only thing that we're not offering it on is deeds with conveyances. So anything that has to have money changing to the state or to the town for the conveyances. And then the last bullet I had here, which we've kind of talked about, is that property check system, that program where the town residents can sign up to have their properties monitored. So
Sounds
I
excellent.
highly recommend that we do that.
So I guess it's a one-time setup fee?
Yeah, it's a one-time setup fee, then there's a monthly thing.
$25
So
a month.
I think it is good to get clarification on what's
Okay.
the term of that, and is there something built in, some safety
Yeah.
things that it can't go up more than a certain amount or something.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess if there were funds available this year, I mean, it's theoretically possible, you could bring it forward to us, a budget transfer, bring forward a contract, but then we'd pull it out of next year's budget. You know, so we'd spend the money this year, but then wouldn't need to spend it next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, reduce next year's budget, but pay for it this year. So I mean, that's, I think, a decent option.
So Brian brought up some good points. Let me research that, and then when I get it finalized, Brian and I can meet about it, and I'll set up a time to come back to the board.
It sounds good, Dave. I think well done.
Okay, on the second page, I wanted to just share with you guys, give you an update on my education, my town clerk education.
Are you educated now?
I'm getting there. So basically, there's, when I came on board, there was questions, concerns about me not having clerking experience and not having the certification. So I really took it seriously and have been pursuing it, and actually pursuing 2 tracks. One's the Connecticut track and one's the international track. And there's probably about a third of the town clerks in Connecticut have both certifications, the Connecticut and the international. The Connecticut one, the recap how it works is there's 5 core classes you have to take. One is offered every 6 months, so it's 2.5 years till you can even take the test. You have to pass the test, and then you get the CCTC certification. And as of right now, I'm scheduled to take the test in June, and the test covers everything that's in this book. I have to know everything in this book.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot. And the other track is the international, which the New England Town Clerks Association offers a intensive training up at Plymouth State, up in New Hampshire.
Is there any travel involved with that international program?
There is if you went to some international conferences, but I didn't think it'd be appropriate to ask for.
We know you've been going to New
You can answer that one right now.
a trip to the Netherlands. But basically, the last 2 Julys, I've given up a week and spent up there in Plymouth State, and it's been very worthwhile. This coming year will be the final year. I put in for scholarships to hopefully get the bulk of it covered by the scholarships. So after I complete that in July, I will get the CMC certification and have that. And then the third thing is the Connecticut Council of Municipalities, and I signed up to get that to be certified as a certified Connecticut municipal official. And I should be receiving that at the fall conference, that, right now I'm at 30 credits and I need 36, and I'm signed up for three credit things, so I'll be 39 credits. So there's 3 different tracks that I've been on.
Wow.
You should be commended for all this, extra exertion
My
and,
brain feels
timely,
like
education.
a lot of
This is
work.
great, really. I'm serious.
Underneath there, I have some comments on salary things, and that's not, that's just to share with the Board of
Right.
Selectmen here in the
We can-
Finance Department.
we can read
I know
that.
we're not to talk salaries tonight at all.
Right.
I added a page next year. I spent the day down at the state capitol. It's the first time I've been there. I'm ashamed to say what an unbelievable building that is, the state capitol. And, so the topics, a lot of people I don't think understand the breadth and the scope of the different responsibilities the town clerk office has. So I want to just take the opportunity
Good,
to touch
yeah.
on that. So our first speaker was the Secretary of State. We got to hear about the elections, absentee ballots, notary publics, justice of the peace, and, oh man, I can't read my own writing here. Then we heard from DEEP and, the hunting and fishing licenses. Department of Agriculture, we heard about dog licensing and animal control. State public records, that was a big one with the state library and how you archive your things, the condition of your vault, and that you have safety measures in place to cover that. The retention schedule of materials and sharing that with the departments. And they threw a curveball here, is that the state library is asking each town to come up with a digital file policy. So, I mean, I brought it up to them, I says, now, I think it would be your responsibility to give us a template that we can edit or adjust. And this is not something that's on the shoulders of the town clerk, but the town clerk will play a role, but it has to be, I foresee it almost like the sidewalk ad hoc committee. We need to pull together a committee of different departments, IT being one, but to come up with a program. Because as of right now, there's not really something in place for all the digital files, all the emails and text things, and it's kind of a big issue, and the state's asking each town to come up with their digital policy.
Another unfunded mandate.
Yeah, another unfunded mandate.
Yep. I believe
Freedom of Information Act, and it's more than just responding to FOIAs, it's also monitoring the timelines for agendas and minutes, and that all this stuff is kept and archived properly. State Elections Enforcement Commission, and then vital records, births, deaths, and marriages. And the past few years, they've implemented some new birth and death records, which long-term will be very good because people will be able to get them access statewide, so that people can come to our office to get births and deaths that are anywhere in the state. But it's also, it's a lot more complicated. There's a lot more learning to learn, a lot more softwares and things to learn with that.
What about adoption records? Do you keep those too?
They're sealed.
But you can get
Yeah.
access to them by going
Yeah.
through a probate court, I know
Can't
that.
talk about them.
Yeah. No, seriously. People can get access to them by going through a probate court.
So that's what I have to share at this point. Any questions from you guys?
Thank you.
And one thing today down there, Stephanie Thomas handed out this little booklet, and she has a sticker over the past leader there. And I found out some stuff I never knew about. So I'm gonna give each one of you one.
Thank you. No, nice job with all the professional
That's great,
development. I think
yeah.
it's important, all the learning and the professional
Absolutely.
development, and I think it's good for the town, it's good for our residents, so.
But there's some stuff in there I never knew. I didn't know that the state mineral was the garnet, or the state fish was the American shad, or the state song was Yankee Doodle Dandy. There's a lot of useful trivia in there.
Well, that's good to know when if I can't sleep some night, I'll read this thing.
Thank
Make
you.
it to page 3, you'll be
Pictures
out.
too, this is good.
All right.
Thank you, Dave, thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice, thank you.
And I'll come back later. I'm gonna just grab some food and I'll come back.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay.
All right. Next on the agenda is, the assessor's budget.
Yeah, so I'll rip through all of the various finance ones. The finance department itself, is, a 1.53% increase. Things honestly outside of our control, increase, cost of software with the new software modules that we, implemented with the new accounting software. And, as credit card and debit cards become the norm for purchasing, the fees associated with offering that service also increases. We always seem to be behind the 8 ball on that one. I can never budget that high enough, honestly. Every year it surprises me. We have increased the cost of services for the budget itself, to put out more materials, colored materials, different types of materials, so the cost of actually printing that and the postage that goes along with it has increased as well. The tax side is down 1.8%, so I'm glad she did that because I needed to go up the 1.5%, so we balanced each other out. And that's really just because the prior tax collector had a lot of other dues and seminars in there for that. She was involved. Yeah, she was involved with every organization and was also looking to go down a GFOA career path as well, and so there was funding in there that we took out.
So the tax collector's collecting more money and it's costing us less to collect the money.
That is correct.
It's a good thing.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Remember that when you're looking at the salary lines. Shameless plug. And then on the assessor side, again, the same thing. The only thing really going up is the cost of the computer service agreement that we have with QDS for the softwares. But I did ask them to both be down here in case anyone had any questions about either of their
Well, those
budgets.
are things out of your control.
Do you want to say anything? Anything we should know? It's your opportunity. I mean, the budget's more about talking about programs and updates and things too, so, anything?
I think Karen, you're almost done with your CCMO as well, right? Or have you finished your 36, or are you?
I have 30.
She has 30 as well, so she'll be with Dave getting the CCMO. I know Danielle's in the same boat. She's at the 30, 33 mark. And we have been, I'm always open to professional development for staff, so.
It's important, yeah, it's
Yeah,
important.
I tell them all, any program you're interested in, let me know. If we can pay for it, we will.
If they all need to join their professional associations, they should be
Yep.
doing, exactly.
Yep,
It's
exactly.
important.
Yeah, I started certification for International Assessors
Yeah.
Association, and that is, I took the first class already and passed it in 7 classes.
Yeah,
So it'll probably take me a good year to 2 years to do it. 'Cause
Yeah.
I spent between 5 and 7 hours every Saturday and Sunday up until the first week of January. Started about September,
wow,
so it was every weekend.
Impressive.
yeah.
Wow, a lot of work.
No,
Wow.
it's a lot of work, yeah, yeah.
But it's so informative, so
You learn a lot,
I
yeah,
really enjoy it.
No, that's good.
I love school, so.
yeah. How did we have the reorganization?
It's been working very well.
Feedback's good?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
very good, yeah.
It's nice because we always have departmental coverage, especially with Trish being in the office full-time as well. If Karen's out, she can handle the assessor side, and if Alyssa's out, she can handle the tax side.
Perfect.
So we've always got coverage, and, everybody works well together. I haven't heard anybody complain about anybody, so,
Well, nice job with that, thank you, yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Brian,
Thank you
we're
very
also gonna
much.
mention the IT section.
Yeah, well, I was gonna get to that one too. I was
Okay, all
waiting to
right.
get through the
Yeah.
finance stuff first.
All right.
So then, if you guys are,
Great, looks good.
have a
Thank
good
you.
weekend.
Thank
Have
you
a
for
good
coming
weekend.
down. Yeah, thank you.
I'll see
Good
you
to
on Monday.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Thank you.
weekend.
Take care.
See you next week.
Bye.
And so on the IT side, really the only increase there is the contractual increase with Suzer IT. Each year they had I forget exactly how much the bump was, but they charge us per endpoint unit, is how their pricing is. So they took our total amount of endpoints times their cost was the, increase for this year.
Does that mean the more you call them, the more they charge you?
Nope. Nope, they charge us based on literally the number of computers that they service in town. So we have a set number of computers in town that they are responsible for. And there's an annual fee per computer is how it works out.
Well, it doesn't look like you got too much increase after you, all the negatives and with the positives. You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't look like there's any budget increase.
No, I didn't group them all together, but you're right, it's probably not much. If-
Well, it certainly
if
wouldn't look
anything.
like, it looked like you had more subtractions than you had additions.
You know, we try to balance the playing field.
Well, you certainly did a nice job. You ought to be commended.
You know, with the increase in the services costs, we did decrease the supplies because everything's new. We don't need to purchase any new computers at this time. We've left money in there in case, you know, there's incidental, something dies, you need a new monitor or something of that nature, but, you know, we were able to decrease that. Maybe in fiscal '26, we need to look at maybe 5 or 10 computers, but that'll be about it. We've got good quality machines, where in the past we didn't have, business grade machines. Now we're all running business grade machines.
You got the fire department what they needed,
The
right?
fire department's, in fact, no, he's already left.
Oh, so
I
you
got his
got it,
last
he's-
4 computers done today, so they're ready for
Oh,
it.
good, 'cause that was something he'd been complaining about for over a year.
Yep, so everything down there is new, and he got on the new,
Oh, good,
VoIP phone
good.
system, so, everything down there is up to date,
That's a big deal.
yeah.
When does that contract end?
This is the last year of the Suzer IT contract.
So FY '25 is the last year.
Yep,
All right, and I think going forward, it's important with all the IT, and I know this is some of the service Suzer provides. We need to start building out a replacement schedule, just to start smoothing out this replacement, so we
Yep.
don't keep doing it, 30 computers at a time
Right.
or whatever. I mean, we
Right.
should have a smooth.
I agree. We replaced,
Yeah.
there were 65 endpoints in town that we replaced. We took them in real large buckets, but again, they were, a lot of them were things you could go to Best Buy and purchase. They weren't business
Yeah.
grade machines. Now that they are, I mean, of those 65, there's probably legitimately 35 that we can get 8 or 9 years out of, because they're not daily use computers. They're, the tax computer to collect taxes on. They use it for, an hour a day, 5 days or 4 days
Yeah.
a week, versus me, who's on my laptop for 8.5, 9 hours a day.
We should build out a replacement schedule,
There absolutely should
and
be.
then fund it every year. Okay.
And so they've asset tagged everything, so they have dates of service for everything, and we'll kind of map that out from that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Very good, thank you very much. Great job.
Great.
And then on the selectmen side, I know Kim and I have been, back and forth
Yeah,
for like the last week or so on that.
So the only increase, was under new equipment and rentals, and that's just for the water rental. Just drinking a lot of water, I guess, so. That's actually only gonna go up $1,680. So I only had $720 in there, and it's just increased over the years, so.
Yeah.
As far as, the other thing that I wanted to bring up was, other. And right now, we have Sullivan and Lachine coming out, and that's $2,500, a month, so we're over already.
So you get $10,000 in the budget for that, right?
Yeah,
That's
so,
Yeah, but we didn't budget for Sullivan and Lachine at the time we signed the contract with them.
in addition to that, Kathy Lincoln, Brian said he could offset that with the salary under, HR. At the end of the year,
Yeah,
Makes sense.
the expense that we've had for Kathy
And it
Lampkin, I'm
hasn't
just
been
gonna transfer the expense up to human resources.
sense.
That's where
That
it's,
makes sense.
yep.
So that hasn't been that much, so that's been minimal, but I didn't know what you wanted to do with going forward, if you have a budget for
Yeah, this budget doesn't contain Sullivan Lachine either, so.
I think we need to have a meeting at another time with the
Okay.
people
I
that
just
deal
wanted to bring
mostly
it
with
to
Sutherland
Okay.
and Shannon. Figure out whether they think it's worthwhile continuing.
Yeah, I mean, you still got a month to go on the budget, so.
That's just something.
Right.
Yep.
Good thing you highlighted that.
Basically,
It's good.
staying the same,
except for the pensions for the town and
Oh,
fire.
yeah, employee benefits.
And the health insurance, yeah.
Yeah, so, I'll go over the benefits portion. We increased the health insurance cost 3%. The state is saying 3 to 5. Tallinn County has historically always been at the bottom of the range. Hartford and Fairfield and so forth always are at
Yeah,
the
makes
high
sense.
end of the range.
Makes sense.
So they're saying 3 to 5. I budgeted it at 3, based on our current enrollment as well. And then today, actually, I know your sheets don't show it, I went back to that pension town fire line item, and reevaluated it, and was able to bring that down to, to 205 instead of 220.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that one's actually only a $25,000 increase. That's the ADEC for the town pension plan, the ADEC for the volunteer firefighter pension plan, and then that's the 6% salary contribution that the town makes for the full-time fire department 457 plan.
So the total increase would be significantly less.
25,000 instead of 40,000.
Right, but I'm saying at the bottom line in terms of the total, and then the percentage would be quite low then.
Yep.
And are we projecting the same insured head count for the health insurance, or the?
So I haven't budgeted any added positions to the health insurance yet. So any proposed added positions would increase that number. Right now, it's strictly just the body count that we have in town currently.
He says 42 employees?
Yep, 42 subscribers.
Well, that looks very good, Brian.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Is that all of them?
Sure.
Benefits,
That looks like you did them all.
Yeah, IT, employee benefits.
Oh.
Okay, next up, elections, Mr. McCaffrey.
Oh, thanks.
We got a double one? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good evening. The budget here is, been figured out down to the T, and, it's actually gone up, quite a bit, actually, since what I submitted in my proposal in the end of December, I think. That was the right date.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's gone
and
up
the
quite...
reason for that was because of the constant change in requirements for early voting. So, we just recently, the early voting draft handbook came out, a few weeks ago, and, about 2 weeks ago, and, they've added requirements for manning, of early voting. They basically doubled our employee complement for early voting.
Wow.
So that's added, for the temporary workers bill at the 0130 line item. It's added 6624 just for the two, the state primary in August and the presidential election in November.
Dave, could you just run us through quickly, like what is it? So, I mean, like, it's 2 weeks, it's 7 days,
Yeah,
like...
absolutely. So in part two, the second section I gave you, I identified the different elections that this period will encompass, right?
Right.
So it's only being affected by the primary and the general election in November. So for the primary, all primaries from now on, will be 7 days early voting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and 2 of those days have to be 12 hours, and the rest are 8 hours, or excuse me, the rest are, 8 hours. And 10 to 6 on the regular days, and on those 2 opposite days, it's 8 to 8.
Wow.
Okay, and Before the draft handbook came out, they were telling us that we would need 2 people. And that was gonna suffice. However, the early voting handbook now has required curbside voting. So in the case of a primary, we have to have opposite parties. You can't just have one
Right.
party only go out to the vehicles. So that will require 2 parties going
So what's
out.
curbside voting?
So we have curbside voting, and,
We have had it for a couple
We've
of
had it
years.
for a long
but
time.
normally, you know, it's out here, and, I was surprised they're actually requiring it for early voting. So
Really?
originally, you know, we don't normally, we've never had to do
Leave the
that
building,
and so what does that entail? We have a rubber hose over here, like the old gas
Yeah.
stations, just like that. We have an alarm that rings in here, and each time we have to send out assistant registrars of different parties to go out and collect the ID, and then run it through, and then get the ballots, and then bring the ballots out, and then sit with the person while they do the curbside voting in their vehicle, and then collect the ballot, bring it back down, run it through the machine, and then tell them, go back out, tell them that their ballot has been accepted. That's the normal process, right? So in this case, it's gonna be a little different, because we're not gonna be running any ballots through machines on the early voting dates. It's gonna run similar to election day registration, which is done, for those people that for whatever reason, they're, you know, either new into town, or they forgot to register to vote, and so they're coming in to vote
And register.
and register on the same day. Those people, you know, you have to be vetted and verify that you haven't voted somewhere else. And once you get approved, you fill out your ballot, put it in an envelope. The envelope goes into a ballot box. And once it's certified, it gets run through later that day for same-day voting, right? In the case of early voting, there are a number of requirements, but you know, if you're not registered, you have to come in day 1 and then vote on day 2. So if you have permission to vote on the first day, you can go ahead and do that from your car, just like I said, but instead of the ballot going through the machine, it will go through an envelope, right, and then it will be dropped into a box. And then, and so we'll have to have the 2 different parties outside for the curbside voting. But then, should we have a person that comes in to do in-person early voting, we have to have 2
Yeah, I've heard
parties
somebody in there,
inside
yeah.
as well.
So that's the room over there.
Yes, and so we've already identified the small sliver room at the far end of the lower conference room area, as that will be the location. So, separate entrance, so it should minimize problems for,
So because of the curbside voting, we have to double our staffing.
we have to double our staff, yes.
How many curbside voters do we typically get?
So on a regular election, probably about 60, if it's not too bad.
Okay.
But on early voting,
Who
I
knows?
mean, sorry?
Who knows?
Who knows? I
Yeah,
mean,
really.
originally, I was thinking for the presidential preference primary, between 0 to 3 voters per day.
Yeah, you're gonna be spending a lot of money for
Right.
Nothing.
the courtesy of early voting. Yeah.
And of course, that's gonna require, you know, so for that primary that we're having that's on the current budget year, there are definitely some added expenses that
Hadn't been budgeted.
have not been budgeted.
Right,
The
right.
state I did apply for a grant, I was approved for a grant for the early voting up in the presidential preference primary. We were awarded $10,500.
Oh, that's very
And so
good.
that will cover, you know, printing of the early voting ballots, potential labor. There are some other requirements, and that is we have to purchase a safe that will be in the registrar's office
That's for the
Oh, really?
ballots.
Oh.
to store the ballots.
Yeah,
Until-
so it can't be
until
upstairs in
election
the clerk's anymore, it's gotta be
Well,
down there.
so what we're gonna do is.
No, but I'm just saying, yeah.
So that's a requirement. We have to get a plan approved by the Secretary of State, but she has indicated that she would approve that. So that way, we actually have to, the registrars have to come in at the beginning and the ending each day, you know, and hand off to the assistant registrars, and then in the evening, they have to certify what came in on the state voter system, which will also require another drop to be put into that room over there, the sliver room, so, and hopefully I'm not sure what the cost of that will be, but.
What's the cost of this fireproof cabinet that you need to purchase?
The fireproof cabinet is $6,500,
$6,500?
Yes.
Those things are expensive.
Those are expensive, yeah.
So
The delivery
I
is
actually, I put
expensive.
this in the budget every couple of years, and, because it is a state requirement, but we still don't have that, but, you know.
We don't have a spare one laying
I
around.
have two in my office and I need them.
We had, we had one in tax.
But they're full, mine are full with all personnel files.
Bob's familiar with that.
We had one in tax. I don't remember what happened to it.
I did add
We had another one.
the
Bruce
statute
moved
to
it
the
and
second.
was not happy
Yeah.
about
Is
it.
that in your budget, the
That's
fireproof?
in the equipment, maintenance section, right, at the
Check on
fireproof cabinet.
Yeah, I see it, yeah.
Okay, so.
I'm gonna check on that cabinet.
Also, originally, before I added the doubling of the staff for the early voting,
Oh, I see.
I also, from when I originally provided the proposed budget information, I didn't realize that, the state was going up in their minimum wage, so I had to increase that. So that added $899, as well.
Yeah, because I know a few years ago, we'd increased it, but we hadn't got it up to top one, yeah.
So, but otherwise, everything else is, pretty much bare bones. Everything is established, you know, the ballots, they cost us so much per ballot, and, so everything has been worked out, you know, based upon how many we normally order, based upon the type of election, so, as you can see, I think, just to give you a reference, the presidential election of 2020, was, stand by. The presidential election of 2020 cost us, $8,770.
Oh, wow.
So that gives you a difference in what the increase is, so,
That's massive.
Now, how does the registrar stipend work? I see here there's an hourly rate too, so I mean, do you only get paid the stipend, or do you get paid the stipend and also the hourly rate for the elections?
So I get paid the stipend, which is a set thing,
Yep.
and then for when I'm here for the
Elections themselves.
the elections, I only really charge for the period of time setting up the election, the couple of
Yeah.
days before, and training of all of the poll workers. I mean, if I added up the total number, it would far exceed, so
Right.
I just go back like 3 or 4 days prior to, and then,
Okay.
and I include those times, so,
Well, I mean, the other reason I asked Dave is I want to make sure you're fairly compensated, because we're increasing the
Oh, I
length
know.
of time now, and I want to make sure that proportionately,
well, that's true, and I didn't
Okay.
even really think about early voting because of the requirements now that's gonna add.
Yeah, because you guys gotta come and
You
monitor
have to
that.
come in and,
it's going to be a lot more work for
And
you.
For the presidential, you're gonna be.
But that's right, that's the reason I ask, it's not
you're right. And
Okay.
so the number that I put on there was actually if you remember from the 2 years ago, when, I indicated what the going rate for a registrar was for a town our size, and I said, I won't even ask for that much, I'll put that in the next time, right? So I think I got 2/3 of what was recommended for our size, so that actually just brings us up to what the recommended was for 2 years ago. So,
Yeah.
just to give you an idea.
Who's
that it's
there's
more
two
than-
registrars though, because the
Yeah.
Democrat, who's the other registrar?
Gloria Jean Schreiber.
And
So-
she's okay with this budget, she's looking, I mean, because this is
She
her
has.
too, right?
Yeah, she's
Two
okay with it, and she actually gets technically a little bit less, only because, it's hard to break that down. Brian's.
Yeah, I was
work
actually gonna ask you about that, if she had finished her
So she hasn't
certification.
completed her state
Training.
mandated training. It's a little bit in,
So we actually have the stipends broken out differently. Dave's
Okay.
stipend is higher because he's certified in
Certified.
everything under the sun, with the exception of just carrying the Secretary of State title.
right. So,
And hers was less.
and so I had it in last year's training budget, but right when she was getting ready to sign up, the state decided to revamp it a little bit.
Oh, no.
So, it's slated to start back up this month, and so she technically has until, December 31st to get certified. You have 2 years to get certified, so.
Okay.
So that's in the budget there.
I mean, Dave, I'm open, and I don't know about the other selectmen, but I mean, I'm open to taking a look at the stipend amount. I wanna also take into account how much you get paid hourly,
Sure.
you know, but if you wanna work with Brian, or, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
open
Yeah.
to that conversation because of the increased work.
Absolutely. That'd be great.
I
That'd
just-
be great.
Just to
So-
put it on the table, I don't think we're gonna solve it tonight, but.
Yeah. No, I know. I know that the amount is huge, and so, as far as the increase, what it was, but, I mean, there's no wiggle room.
Yeah,
there
in
at
other
all.
words,
I mean,
there's
it's
no
being
discretion in this budget,
Right.
but
so-
for this issue.
I actually, originally,
Yeah.
quite a few of the other things, because I really kept a steady chart. We were actually gonna be down in a couple of things, but that really killed us, so.
Yeah.
Do we have other work we can give the people while they're sitting around with no one?
It'd be nice if you could, but they don't.
Yeah,
And
okay.
it's, of course, it's $100,000 question, because we don't know how many are gonna come. And now that the Secretary of State, her budget was cut, and she's not gonna be allowed to even send out, advertising on how the early voting system works, that's gonna be bad.
I don't understand, we got this budget surplus and they're
Right.
cutting this stuff. What the heck are they thinking?
So, my understanding was, today, she asked for 55 million, she was given 25 million, so, for the state, so.
Oh, my God.
So that's pretty much it. If you had any questions, I mean, I'm not sure if you had any questions about any of these things that are on here, I'd be happy to explain what they all mean, because they're, do you have any questions on any of those things?
Would it be possible for you to prepare a draft letter that we can send to our congressional representatives with regards to this unfunded mandate?
Sure,
Well, it'd be our state reps.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
You say congressional.
Well, so, and I actually,
Legislative.
Yeah, General
It'd
Assembly.
be it'd be for the
General
state.
Assembly.
Yeah, General
and
Assembly.
separately,
course.
I actually have a meeting with, Representative Vale and Senator Kissel on the 1st.
Well, that's good.
February, so not related to registrars, but, related to the veterans, but.
Well, I would bring that up too.
We'll add that in there.
I would hope you would show this to them.
But I think we need a letter. to
This is
send,
completely
Go
ridiculous.
on record.
The only
You
thing
know.
I'll check on, I thought we had an extra fireproof cabinet, so I will check with Bruce on that on
If we do, that
Monday.
would be great.
Because I know we used to have one in tax that we literally stored supplies in.
Oh, okay.
Well, that'd be a big
And
thing.
I'm happy
They were,
to,
Public Works was
I'm
so
happy to-
mad when they had to move it, that I'm sure they never wanna do it again, but in this situation,
I got the assessor, the assessor.
this is a different one.
How big is it?
It's a 4-drawer filing cabinet, like what's in her office. It probably weighs 1,500 pounds.
Yeah, they're,
It's filled with concrete.
and the delivery charges are, and the freight is
Yeah.
just insane. All
But I
right.
thought we had an extra, I'll check with Bruce if we do.
So do you have the space to store this cabinet if we?
I do, because we have a current cabinet in there that does not meet the requirements.
Great.
Thanks, Dave. No, you gave this a lot of thought. I appreciate
Okay.
it.
Thank you very much.
I
for
tried,
the,
yeah, so if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer, but, I mean, everything is, pretty much bare bones on how we operate the registrar's office, so.
Yeah.
Go, please do, yeah.
With the curbside voting, is there any way that you could have the early voting happen like here? And then if the bringer goes off, people that are doing it can go out with the clipboard and the same two people can do both things that they're
So,
located right here?
No, it's not authorized because you have to, because there's.
You can't leave it unattended, like the election
You
station.
can't be unattended, right, so you
Yeah.
can't, the two,
You still need a phone in there when you do all that stuff, so, remember that?
Technically, yes, and of course, there is a phone jack, I think, in that room. But, so, one of the requirements that they just threw at us, was that we have to have a CVRS drop
Right.
in there, that's new, so,
What kind of drop is that?
Connecticut Voter Registration System drop, which is different from, we have a separate server upstairs, just so that we can access the,
The secure
voter
network,
records,
yeah.
Connecticut voter records.
The town of Union is gonna offer all this too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, right.
It's gonna increase their mill rate by about 2.
So, and we've
For
had,
all 800 people.
Dave, I mean,
Like, no.
it's unbelievable.
And Dave was talking about the meetings with the Secretary of State, and she's actually been very,
She's great.
unbelievable,
On
yeah,
the ball.
and we've been having, yesterday and today, we had specialized early voting, just on early voting, and a lot of registrars are, up in arms. I mean, so, for instance, the presidential preference primary that's gonna require us to have this safe.
Right,
So-
right.
And we don't know, obviously, for the April election, I'm expecting a very minimal number. So, for the November election, who knows? But, so places like Bridgeport are being told they have to have a room to secure all these every day, and so it's 14 days for the presidential election, if I didn't mention that.
Yeah, what's in the paperwork here, yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah, it's massive.
So anyways, well, thank you very much, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I'll try to see if I can create a letter,
Very good.
that we can.
Thank you,
No,
Dave.
That's
Yeah.
very good. Thanks for all your time.
Thanks very much.
You gave this a lot of thought, thank you.
Thanks.
What happens if you don't offer the curbside ballot, because you can't hire somebody, there's nobody to hire?
So
This
that-
could be a
that's-
problem. Some small towns have trouble getting people to work in elections. It's a serious problem.
It's gonna be a problem.
Who's gonna come tough days?
Well, and so, and that is a, that's.
Yes, it's a serious problem.
The state is also going to be requiring early voting training to those people
Right.
that are gonna be conducting that type of activity. So that's why they have an increased amount to be able to handle early voting. So, yes, that's gonna be, I've already alerted all of our poll workers because, and we're gonna need, more moderators because the state is requiring us to provide every name of the people that are gonna be doing the early voting 2 weeks before the early voting.
But now, they allow the no excuse absentee ballot still, or no, did that stop?
Next year, probably.
But I mean, if you have absentee ballots, I mean,
So absentee ballots, officially, there are still some stipulations on absentee ballots, but those rules will be going away next.
because they lifted them during COVID, and then they went back into place,
They went
but
back
now
in-
they're,
back in, but next year will be open to all, so,
It's open to all now, because basically that sickness thing could be fierce.
anything you decide, yeah.
officially, but yes, next year, it will be open to everyone officially,
They still handle the early voting.
so.
So the absentee ballot approach is a cost savings device when you compare it to the early voting.
Yeah.
And effectively, it's the same thing, I mean, if
Well, that's why, I mean, why do you have to have the in-person option available for 14 days, when if they can't come in person, they can just mail a ballot in?
Exactly.
Or drop it off in a secure box.
Right.
Right,
I mean, it's,
It would have been nice if, towns like this area could have just stayed with absentee balloting,
which would make a lot of sense and save a lot of money. I mean, we want people to be able to vote, but,
Boston Tea Party,
I mean,
I think we need to have a Boston Tea Party here.
yeah, I mean, I think Selectman Schmidt raises a good point. I mean, the labor's gonna be tough. I mean, it's,
Oh, yeah, well,
I mean,
and
there's a lot-
that is a big problem, and you get to some of these small towns out in the northwest part of the state, they'll tell you straight up, we can't find
Well,
enough
of
people
course,
to do
when
it.
the early voting question was on the ballot, Summers soundly defeated it, but of course, the state passed
approved it.
I think it would have been fine, but see, she asked for all this money and the state didn't give it to her, and I could see if we had a deficit in our budget, but we had a surplus, and they didn't give the money. Why would you not give the money to somebody when they need it?
I don't know, I mean,
It doesn't make sense they could do absentee ballot for the drive-up people. The drive-up people double the expense.
Yeah,
It doesn't make any sense.
doesn't make any sense.
It was a surprise in the handbook, so.
Yeah, we hear you.
Well, thank you
Okay,
very
thank you very
much.
much.
All right,
Appreciate it.
move on.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of our January 25th, 2024 regular meeting.
Oh, January 18th, sorry.
18th,
Took the agenda.
25th today, right. Haven't done those minutes
The minutes
yet.
are correct.
I
No,
was sitting
the
there and
minutes
said,
are
boy, I
correct.
said, that's pretty good, you've
All
already
right.
got the minutes done.
January
I'm not gonna get ahead of
18th.
myself.
Boy, you're psychic.
I'm just getting run down.
Okay, approval of the minutes of January 18th, regular meeting, Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, happy to say yes.
Do a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting agenda minutes for January 18th,
Yeah.
2024.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? I've reviewed and edited the minutes, and,
All right.
looks good in my mind. Any further discussion? All those support say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're
Whoa.
adjourned.
Well, thank you. So what, next week is who?